So, do you think that one of the things I want to talk about is how you transition from being a, so you had the success as an artist, and do you think that that's what propped you up to have the opportunity for producing for Newsboys, which was your first major production?
No, I actually don't think that was how I got that gig. It was more like everything starts with a song. Like I'm such a firm believer in that. I mean, that's a little bit of a cliche in Nashville. It all starts with a song. Like but it's so true. And so for me, I was like still actively writing and producing stuff on the side for other bands. And one of those songs wound up finding its way into the hands of their manager, who then put me in with their singer. And I was like, can I get a shot at trying to produce it? And they were like, yeah. And that ended up turning into basically the whole record. And it wasn't necessarily because we were out there on tour with them as an artist, though that definitely didn't hurt. Like building the relationship is really important.
Sure.
It wasn't because they were like, hey, we think what you do as an artist is amazing and we want that. Like it was more because they felt like these songs were amazing. I was able to help them tap into and find a new sound and literally kind of reinvent themselves after they had lost their old frontman. And it was kind of just that. Like the
Hmm.
songs were the thing that lit the fire.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. It's kind of how it all is, man. And it's just, I think that the biggest thing that so often so many musicians get caught up in is you actually just posted about this, and I actually I commented on it in a video. It was your songwriting tip, which was like don't try to go for the perfect song. Just write the song, and just keep moving forward. And I think that so often artists get so caught up in whether it be the songwriting or the production or whatever the case is, they always want that perfect song. So that, I just actually, the reason I comment on it is because yesterday in a video I was putting out, I put out the quote, "Don't let the perfect be the enemy or get in the way of the good." Right.
Yeah,
So
so good.
often we get one of my biggest stripes with the music industry and really with my music friends is like I don't see them going anywhere because they don't, and I hope they change because they don't release music though. It's like, dude, you are so talented, but you haven't released. You've been in the, you dropped out of college 6 years ago and you don't haven't released an EP yet or a single. It's like, but he's so caught up in making that perfect one that it's just like he hasn't released anything, and it's like, you know,
Yeah, dude, and that's such a great quote that you mentioned that, yeah, perfect. It really is the enemy. And I think so many of us are just so afraid of failure.
yeah,
And ultimately, I think defining what success and failure are is so huge. Like,
mm,
you're probably not going to have some massive commercial chart topping level of success with the first thing you put out. It's just the reality of probably how it's going to be. And it's probably going to take a long time. But if you're seeing growth, that's all that matters. Like if your songs are getting better,
mm.
if you're building fans, if you're helping people and encouraging people and making their lives better, making the world better, then that's ultimately what success is about. Because you're always going to go back and find stuff about your songs that you wrote 5 years ago that you're like, man, I wish I would have done this and this and this and this. That's just how it is.
100%, absolutely. And sometimes in those bad songs that you do right, some of them end up being gems. You know what I mean? Like I've released a lot of music, and so I look back though, and some of the more recent ones I've released, I'm like, yo, this was terrible. And then some of the ones I wrote released 7 years ago, I'm like, this was actually pretty decent. So it's like you never really know which ones are going to be the good, quote unquote, good or bad songs that you make. But I think it's just so important to make the song in general.
You are so right, man. We really do never know. I mean, that's the thing that it comes down to is like as a producer and as a songwriter, because I do both on a day-to-day basis. Like we get to hear songs pitched every day for records that we're working on. And I'm like, man, the caliber of what's out there in the writing world is so high. So it's not even necessarily a matter of good or bad. Like almost don't even like using that vocabulary anymore because everything at one point is good or bad. Like there's gonna be,
Ooh, that's
you,
fascinating.
you know what I'm saying? Like I might feel like something I'm working on today is great, and then I might listen to the same exact thing tomorrow or a year from now and be like, that's bad, that's terrible. So
That is fascinating, man.
it's
Absolutely. It's so subjective to time and everything. That's really
it's
interesting.
it's so subjective, and I've been a part of it on record labels where like an A&R person will hate something, and then the next record comes around, they're like, man, this song is amazing, let's cut it. It's literally the same song, it's just a different time, different day, different temperature outside. Who knows what it is?
That is so interesting, man. I highly relate to that, and that's also why I encourage people to release as much music as they can, because I think that, you know, the quote is music art is so subjective, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we as musicians get so caught up in what we think is good. You know, oh, I'm not gonna release this song because I don't like this song. When you never really know, you know, person B. Like I find it so fascinating when I put these polls out there, and you know, which is your favorite song of mine or something like that, and the response, I'm like, yo, I hate that song, and you love it. Like it's just, that's mind blowing to me. So it's like, it's all so subjective, you know, and people are gonna like different things for different reasons and connect in different ways, you know.
Yeah, I'd rather you put out like 10 songs that, because here's the reality, things are moving so quick. Like the first song you write, people are going to forget about it in 4 songs anyway. So if it wasn't your
Yeah,
favorite thing in
yeah.
the world, who cares? Like it might have opened a door, or connected you to some fan or whatever. But just, it's more like, think like it's everything is a numbers game. It all comes down to numbers.
Hundred
And
percent.
most of us as creatives don't like to think that, but it just is the case. Everything is a numbers game.
Every single song is a little salesperson. You know, you have one salesperson or you have 100 salesperson, and I look up to this artist named Russ a lot. You know, he is crushing. Do you know Russ? Or his music?
No, I'm gonna look it up right after we
Highly
get off this
recommend
call.
him. The funny thing about it is, like, he doesn't have like these, like, he's not like super in the limelight kind of thing, but like he's got 13 million monthly listeners on Spotify, so he's like still crushing the game. You know what I mean? But he's not like the Drake kind of thing, you know, where everyone knows his
Right,
name.
right,
But
right.
he's a numbers guy. He goes like a song a week, you know, kind of thing, and that's what he talks about, just releasing as much as he can. And some things that hit, you know, he's gone platinum on several things, but it's all he's making, like, I think his goal is like $1 million a month on just his, and he's not signed, so TuneCore, you know, straight to him. You know, it's like, because he has 200 songs out there. They're every week. Each song's getting like 4 million plays. Like, he's crushing the game, man.
Yeah, and it's possible nowadays. That's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that like they think it's all doom and gloom when it comes to the music industry, but it's actually about the best time ever. Because yeah, there are gatekeepers, there are people who work for Spotify who curate playlists, and you ultimately, yeah, you want to be on those. But my friend Sam Tenez, who's another really guy who's just been crushing the game on Spotify, you know, millions of monthly listeners, just crushing it, selling literally gold records without a record label.
I love that.
And he is the perfect poster child for it. But it's also the numbers. Like he puts out so much music
Hmm.
that it's like, hey, great, I'm putting this out. You don't like it? No worries. I got another one coming out next week. You don't like
I
that?
love that.
I got another one next week. It's that mentality.
That actually, it's hard to have that mentality because most people don't. So you, like, if it doesn't work right off the bat, you're like, am I doing the wrong thing? Because you're going against the grain. You know what I mean? But it's so encouraging to see other artists that are having success with that.
Yeah, it's just having like a realistic perspective. I think every artist has in their mind like, oh, this is a smash, this is a hit. But a hit ain't a hit until it's a hit. Like that's
Amen
the
to
thing.
that.
We just don't know. The market has to decide that.
Yes, that's so true, man. That is so fascinating.